Happy weekend, my MPP peeps. Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Free-for-All. I'll be going over all the names that I like for this week, and I'll also be going over the names that you sent in for me to look at. And if you like what you hear today, go to northpostpartners.com, sign up for the service. You're going to get all my trades in real time via Twitter. You'll get educational videos, as well as my ready to rock charts each and every week. It's only $50 a month. First month is free, and you can cancel anytime. All right, let's get into it. The S&P. Monster week last week. The bulls are in control. And if the bulls want to continue to run this higher, I'm looking at 36.65 as a next potential target. However, this rally is getting very long in the tooth. And at some point, we're going to pull back. And I'm expecting a 0.236 or 0.382 retrace from this low right here to wherever the high ends up being. And right now, if the high, let's say theoretically, if the high was put in on Friday, the 0.236 retrace is right around this 50 SMA at 32.58, and the 0.382 retrace is right around this 200 SMA at 31.03. But we'll have to see where we start to top and pull back before I can make accurate retrace targets. So, right now the reward to risk is not favorable. So we're not entering any new longs, or we're not getting aggressive any new longs at this point. We're trying to wait for a pullback. We want to be patient for a pullback before we get aggressively long again. Any new trades that we put on from here will be quick, for quick profits, until we get that pullback where we can buy the dip and then hold for longer for bigger profits. All right, let's go to the Qs. The Qs still in just monster rally mode. Consolidating a little bit up here at this 292 level. My next target, if the bulls want to take this thing higher, is 299.300. However, again, just like the S&P, getting pretty extended up here, and I'm expecting a 0.236 to 0.382 retrace at some point in the near future. And theoretically, if last week's top was the short-term top, the 0.236 retrace from this low to this high is right around this 50 SMA at 267, and then the 0.382 is right around 250. So I'm looking for at least some sort of pullback to test this uptrend line that has been forming, and which is right around this 0.236. So again, not looking to get aggressive long, just quick trades this week until we do get that deeper pullback where I can buy more confidently at lower prices. All right, let's look at the VIX. VIX is spiking a little bit, but every spike is getting sold. And until we start getting some high of day closes on the VIX a couple days in a row, we can continue to grind higher in the indices. So I'm going to be watching this VIX very closely to see if we can start putting in a couple of green candles to indicate that maybe volatility is starting to creep back into the market, and that will be a good indicator of when that pullback is ready to happen. All right, so let's go to some names that I think look interesting for next week. Okay, first up we got BYND, Beyond Meat. So Beyond Meat is consolidated nicely right at this 0.382 retrace from this low to this high, held it, broke this downtrend line, and is now trying to stay above it. We're actually long this BYND right now, and our first target is this 149, then looking to this 166, and then this 198 is our ultimate target if the bulls take control in this name. Our stop is a close below the 10 SMA, which is right at 126.68. So given we're at 131 right now, the reward to risk is very good in this trade right here. So we'll be taking a little bit off. If we can get this 149, 150 area, we'll be taking a little bit off, and then we'll go for these higher targets. Next up, we got Delta, DAL. Delta had a nice week last week, broke out of this mini downtrend, and is now beginning to head higher and bull flagging at these higher levels. The 0.618 retrace from this high to this low is right at 32. If it can break above that, I'm looking for this 200 SMA to get touched right at 38.50. And then our stop would be a close below the 10 SMA at 29.09. So really good reward to risk in this trade. All right, next up, we got GOGO. GOGO had a really nice week last week. Closed above its 200 SMA for the first time in a while. And look at this volume coming in, massive volume. So this could be signaling a long-term trend change. We've been in this really long-term downtrend in GOGO, and it looks like finally maybe the bulls want to grab the ball again. So we're actually long this name with this close above the 200 SMA, the weekly close above it. And my first target is the 0.236 retrace from the high, the all-time high, to this all-time low right here, which is right around 950. And then next up is the 0.382 retrace at 1454. So this could be just a bounce in GOGO. And if it is just a bounce, we're going to be taking some profits at this 0.236, 0.382 level. But if this is a long-term downtrend change, and we're going to start heading into an uptrend, we could head a lot higher to this 18, 22, possibly 28 area in the long term. So this is definitely one I would keep on your watch list. And short-term gains, I think, could be had up to this 950 area. That's where I'm looking to take some profits, and then I'm going to try to ride this thing as high as it can go. But really nice look to this name with this volume and this close above the 200 SMA. And our stop is a weekly close, a Friday close back below this 200 SMA. And as you can see, that's not too far away. So the reward to risk is excellent in this name. All right, next up, we got ROKU. ROKU had a nice consolidation up here, held this downtrend line break. So we broke above it, held it, and is now looking to head higher. We're long this name, and we actually added to it with Friday's close, with this breakout close. And my next target in ROKU is this 250. Might take a little while to get there, but I think this 250 looks like a very reasonable target. It's the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low. And our stop is a Friday close below the 200 SMA, which is right here, right around 127.42. So really nice reward to risk in ROKU. Next up, we got SHAK. All right, SHAK, just like GOGO, looks like we could be experiencing a long-term trend change. We've broken this downtrend line from this high all the way down here to these lows. Looks like we're heading back up. We're now closing above the 200 SMA and heading higher. And the 50 SMA is curling up as well. So this could be a long-term trend change. We're currently long and looking to add if it continues to prove itself. The first target here is 77, the 0.618 retrace from the high to the low. And in case this is just a bounce, the 0.618 retrace is a good place to take profits, because that's usually the place, if it's just a bounce, where they start to sell it and the downtrend continues. However, if we continue to head higher. I'm looking for much higher in this name, in the 150 area. So we'll just have to see if we get to the 77 area, how we handle it. If we consolidate there and then head higher, we'll be targeting this 152. All right, next up we got work, SHAK Technologies. So we've come down here and tested this 200 SMA. It's held it, and we're now breaking above this downtrend line and above the 50 SMA. So this one looks good and ready to go long. We're right at the 0.618 retrace from the high to the low. So it could experience some resistance right here, but if we can break above that, I'm looking at 35 as my first target, which is the 0.618, 0.786 retrace from this high to this low. That's my first target. If we can break above that, we could potentially make a run to 49 or the 49.50 area. So my plan is to go long this name on Monday, take some profits here in this 35 region if we get there, and then go for this 49 target. And then my stop is a close below the 10 SMA, which is currently at 29.41. So if we're going for this 49 target, really nice reward for the risk. All right, that's all the names that I'm interested in for next week. Now let's go over the names you sent in for me to look at. All right, this first set of names comes in from @VTANBB, a member of North Coast Partners. How you doing? You wanted me to look at DIOD. DIOD's looking pretty good, holding above this 200 SMA. If it can get back above this downtrend line, back above the 10 SMA, which is right around 50.42, it actually is above the 10 SMA. So if it can get back above this downtrend line, I think this is a solid long opportunity with a target of 62. And then just make your stop a close below the 10 SMA at 50.42. So really nice reward to risk right here. Next up, you got DLTR, Dollar Tree. So this one is having a nice pullback. The 0.382 retrace from this low to this high is right around 92. So if it can hold this 92 area, retake the 10 SMA, which is right around 99, I think this one's a good long to this 108, 112 area. And then your stop, once we break back above the 10 SMA, your stop will be a close back below that 10 SMA. So just be patient, make sure that this 0.382 holds, and then make sure that you're on the right side of the trade by getting back above this 10 SMA before you go long. Okay, this next name is from @Nawel Hassan. How you doing? This is CTSH, Cognizant Technologies. So we're right at this 0.618, 0.886 retrace, 0.886 from this high to this low, and the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low. So we're consolidating right there, obviously finding some resistance. But if it can bust through this consolidation box, I think the 90 area is a good target. And your stop for me, if you do get long this name, the stop will be a close back below the 10 SMA. And that 10 SMA is right at 67.11. So you might want to wait until this high gets taken out to get long. The high is, looks like 69.49. So if you can bust through that 70 level, I think that's a good trigger to get long, to go for this 90. And then your stop would be 67.11. Pretty low risk, very high reward. Okay, next up we got some names from @Wings of Fire. @Wings of Fire, you want me to look at AARIDRUGS. What a run this has been on. Tremendous parabolic move. And it's pulling back nicely to its 10 SMA. So if it can get back above Friday's high, it looks like 3,070. It can reclaim that 3,070, or you might want to wait for 3,100 to get taken out. I think it's a pretty good long setup to go for this 4,300 would be my next target. And then a stop would be a close back below the 10 SMA, which is right at 28.59. So really good reward to risk in this name right here. Next up, you got PVR. PVR looking really good. I think this is a name you had me look at 2 weeks ago. Bull flagging nicely up here, holding the 50 SMA and now back above the 10. For me, if it can get back above this mini downtrend line, I think it attacks this bigger downtrend line. So I think that would be worth a trade, just going from this point here to this downtrend line here. So that could be a nice move and a lot of profits in this area right here. And then a stop will be a close back below the 10 SMA, which is right at 480. So really nice reward to risk. And then, if you just want to take, if we do reach this level and you are long, take some off, and then let's see if we can get back above this bigger downtrend line and head to the 0.382 retrace from the top all the way down here to the bottom, which is right at 758. So this could, if you sell here and then ride runners as far as it can go, this thing could really be a nice winner, because we're back above this 200 SMA, which could mean a long-term trend change. And maybe this is the low for a long time and we're heading higher. So really like the possibility in this PVR. Next up, you have ECLERX. So ECLERX service. So this one, nice move in the last couple weeks above its 10 SMA and bull flagging up here. If it wants to head higher, my target is 947. That's the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low. And that's where it looks like it's heading. So nice reward from here to risk, which is your 10 SMA at 743. So a close below 743 is where I will be stopped out. And this 947 will be my target. So really nice reward to risk. Next up, you got Relaxo. So Relaxo is holding this 200 SMA. Had a nice volume bar on Friday and a close above. So this one for me would be a long right here. It would have already triggered long, and my first target would be this 0.618 retrace from this high to this low. That's where I would take some profits, and then I would go for the 0.1618 retrace from this high to this low, and the 1.272 retrace from this high to this low, which is right around 912, 920. So, a pretty good opportunity here as far as risk reward goes. A lot of reward for just a little risk, and my risk would be right at the 200 SMA. So 642.81, a close below that, and I would be out. So that's only 18 points away for potentially 200 plus points of reward. Really good reward to risk setup in this name right here. Okay, this next name comes from at Laurie 47150356. So Laurie, you wanted me to look at PAWZ. PAWZ is really extended. And it could get more extended, but if you're not already long this name, I would wait for a pullback. I would wait until wherever the top actually ends up being, a 0.236 retrace, 0.382 retrace from that top. So I would be looking at a retrace from this low to this high. And theoretically, if this week was the short-term top, that 0.236 retrace will be right around 53.50. The 53.50 area is where I would look to get long. That'd be just a much better reward to risk scenario, because your reward is shrinking as we head further and further into this stratosphere here, and your risk is growing. So I would wait until your risk shrinks, try to buy at lower prices, so you know, you can have a better, higher odds of a winning trade. Because right here, your odds of winning are shrinking. You need to increase those odds by buying the dip. So for me, I'd be looking for the 0.236, 0.382 retrace. All right, these next set of names are from @DannyNTO. What's up, Danny? Danny's a member. How you doing, man? Let's go over your names. IBB is your first one. I like IBB, pulling back nicely to its 0.236, 0.382 retrace from this low to this high, and looks like it's consolidating nicely after this big run. So for me, I'd wait for a break of this downtrend line, and then you could get long for a target of 156. That's the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low. And then your stop will be a close below the 10 SMA, which is 133.36. So really nice reward to risk in IBB. And then next up, you got URA. URA breaking out. You know, this could be the start of a big run in uranium. You never know. But I would target, if you wanted to get long right here, it is breaking out, so it is triggering a long. My first targets would be the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low, which is right at 1288, and then you got the 1.618 retrace from this high to this low, which is 1354. So right in this, you know, 1288, 1354 regions where I would start taking profits, and then just hold some runners in case this is the bottom and we're heading higher. But go ahead now, I would take short-term gains in case this is just a bounce in this area, and then hold as long as you can with a stop at entry. Hold as long as you can to see if this is the bottom and we're heading much, much higher. Next up, you have UNG. So UNG looks like it could be putting in a long-term trend change. So we've been below, this UNG has been struggling with a 200 SMA since January of 2019. So we've just been in this monster downtrend, and we finally could be breaking out. So, you know, I think this is worth going in with a stop at your 200 SMA, which is at right now at 1375. And then let's draw a little retrace right here. Your first target, I would target the 0.618 retrace as your first target. Let's put that on there. 1750, okay, would be my first target. And then, you know, if you want to go for a very long-term hold, go for the 1.618, okay? And this could be a massive winner if, in fact, the trend has changed and we're going to head higher. So I would take profits here at the 1750, set your stop at entry, and then go for this 31. But yeah, this one, you know, anytime a name starts to move back above its 200 SMA after being below it for so long, that always excites me, because that could mean that now the bulls see opportunity and are looking for higher prices. So yeah, this one's definitely worth a buy, just because your risk is so low where this 200 SMA is, and your reward is very high. Next up, you have REMX. So REMX, been on a nice run, closing back above this 200 SMA and holding. and we're now pulling back to the 0.236 retrace from this low to this high, and you know, just a nice little consolidation period. So if we can get back above this little mini downtrend line, I think it could continue higher. And my target would be this 1.618 retrace from this high to this low, which would take you right around to 54. So 54 would be my target. And your stop, or at least for me, the stop would be a close below the 10 SMA, which currently sits at 41.68. So you get back above this downtrend line, it triggers long, and your stop is pretty close, and your target is very far away. So I really like this reward to risk setup, and it looks like the trend has changed in this name, and they want to take it higher. All right, guys, well, that's all for this week. I'll be back again in 2 weeks for another weekend free-for-all. And until then, remember, don't trade for thrills. Just consistently make those dollar bills.